Instead of just criticizing the government, let's give them some actual tips on how they can stop hemorrhaging support with the general public. This is Ben Scallan and you're watching Gript Media. Before we start the video, if you want to support Gript and our work, make sure to click like, subscribe and comment even if you have absolutely nothing to say. Just comment if you like pineapple on pizza or something. Because by liking, commenting and sharing, this channel gets boosted in the algorithm and is seen by more people. So if you want to see the channel grow, just take 2 seconds right now to like, comment and do your part to support independent journalism. And with that said, on to the video. For those who have even a passing interest in politics, it's no secret by now that the government are having their backsides consistently handed to them on a platter by Sinn Féin in poll after poll. And it's been a long time coming too. Both Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael have seen their vote shares decline considerably over the years, and that trajectory does not seem to be changing anytime soon. To make matters worse for them, with Fine Gael TD Joe McHugh just abandoning ship, the government coalition is now officially a minority in the Dáil. The fact that they're in such a vulnerable state has reportedly led to absolute chaos and conflict within the coalition, particularly among Fianna Fáil backbenchers. F Sinn Féin, F Fine Gael, F them all. We are Fianna Fáil, said one senator according to the Irish Examiner. We're the largest party in the Seanad, the largest party in the Dáil, the largest in local government. Bit of trouble in paradise there, it would seem. In addition, a load of Fianna Fáil rebels led by Willie O'D and Jim O'Callaghan are demanding that the party get its act together, with O'D saying Fianna Fáil is getting lost in government and its impact in government is lost on the Irish people. What we have achieved for the Irish people seems to be a better kept secret than the third secret of Fatima. The opinion polls bear this out. And so, in light of all this, now is probably a good time to do what their legions of highly paid special advisors apparently can't do, and that is to actually identify some of the ways they're cocking up, and how to possibly fix it more importantly. Number 1. Stop pursuing policies you know are horrendously unpopular. Well, this one really isn't rocket science now, is it? Just putting aside personal opinion for a moment and looking purely at the facts, it's absolutely true that the government has consistently pursued policies which the public have clearly said they don't want, which is kind of one of the most fundamental mistakes you can make in politics. For example, the government supports carbon tax so much that they even increased it during a serious cost of living crisis. But you know who hates carbon tax? 82% of Irish people. The government moved to raise Ireland's 12.5% corporate tax rate last year, but you know who didn't want to raise our corporate tax rate? 59% of Irish people. The government wants no caps whatsoever on Ukrainian refugees. You know who does want a cap? 60% of Irish people. The government wants to end Irish neutrality, but do you know who doesn't? 66% of Irish people. The government is in favour of radical trans ideology, but do you know who isn't? 68% of Irish people. Also, minimum unit alcohol pricing. 70% of people just didn't want it, etc, etc. I could go on. Now, some of these are very important to voters, like the carbon tax issue, which directly impacts their life. But even for the seemingly less important and more abstract ones, like say the trans issue or corporation tax, these things accumulate over time. If every time you make a policy announcement, the public are irritated, that adds up. If every single time a person opens the newspaper, they're annoyed by what they see you doing, they're eventually going to get annoyed at you. Duh. The bottom line, stop pursuing policies which people are clearly telling you they don't want. Number 2, ditch the Greens long term. From a practical perspective, the government feels like they need the Greens short term to hold the coalition together. And to an extent, that's unavoidable. But in the medium to long term, they need to be looking at decoupling, because the Greens and the Green agenda are going to kill Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael stone dead. Polling shows that over 8 in 10 people oppose Green policies. And not in a casual way, mind you, in an energised, passionate way. And why wouldn't they oppose it? It drives up the cost of fuel and home heating for ordinary people, and it puts unsustainable regulations on fishermen and farmers, making it nearly impossible for them to do their jobs. Same goes for peat harvesters and horticulturalists. You have Eamon Ryan saying that cheap holidays will be a thing of the past by the time he's done with the economy. He also seems to have implied that we need to cull the so-called national herd to meet our climate targets. And by the way, there is no such thing as the national herd, as an aside. That makes it sound like they're all owned by the state in common, like some sort of Marxist co-op. Herds are privately owned by individual farmers. They're the property of business owners, so there is no national herd. But that's a side note, I digress. The point is, obviously people don't want things like this. Obviously, people are going to react badly to you telling them, by the way, we're intentionally making your life worse on purpose and making it harder for you to do things that you enjoy. The government has committed itself to all kinds of international climate targets, but who would you rather win over? European politicians or the voters who you rely on to stay in your seat? The Green Agenda has won the governing parties nothing but hatred and scorn. For every one plucky young college student that you may win over by environmentalist pandering, you lose at least 3 other normal people who are infuriated by their petrol bill. It's not worth it. For Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to succeed, the Greens simply have to go. And by the way, if you agree with anything we're saying here and you want to see more reports like this, please consider signing up for a €5 or €10 a month donation, whatever you can afford, to help us keep in business doing what we do. But regardless, we move on to the third tip for the government. Focus on bread and butter issues, not irrelevant waffle. The government likes to talk about liberal social issues quite a bit. For example, Enraging's bill on making 40% of company board members women, or moves to promote climate change related artwork, or whatever. But every minute the government stays focused on these things is a minute they could have spent dealing with things that people actually give a crap about, like say, housing. We live in a country that is riddled with violent crime and drug addiction. Many people live with no realistic possibility of ever owning their own home. The waiting list in hospitals would be comical if they weren't so serious. And by the way, that was bad before COVID. The pandemic is no excuse. And we're probably staring down the barrel of a crippling recession. These are the kinds of things that people are worried about. They could not conceivably give a damn how many LGBT rainbow crossings you lay down, or whether or not there are gender quotas for media companies, or any of that crap. It does not cost them 1 minute of sleep at night to think about whether Dublin should have a directly elected mayor or something. Nobody cares. Above all else, people want to live in a safe country where they or a loved one can be seen in a timely fashion by a doctor if they're hurt, and where they can one day own a home if they work hard enough, among other things. All of this other irrelevant waffle is a total waste of time. That's why Sinn Féin talk almost exclusively about housing, healthcare, childcare costs, and that sort of thing. And that is also, by the way, why they're winning. The fact that the government's armies of special advisors apparently aren't telling them all of this common sense is a rip-off and shows what a waste of money those positions actually are. Please like and share this video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider signing up for a monthly donation via the link on screen to help us produce more content like this. Alternative media like Gript needs all the assistance it can get, and every donation goes a long way. As always, thanks for watching.